Well, hey kids, Grandpa here. How you guys doing today? Well, I announced it, and so now here I am doing it. This is going to be the sort of introduction and overview on my series that I'm going to be doing, Hunting for the Homesteaders. There's always something that needs fed up here on Grandpa's farm in Alaska. A place where you're always welcome. Come on, Lily. Let's go feed. I've watched a lot of hunting videos in my lifetime. Probably tens of thousands of hunting videos that I've watched in my lifetime. And the one thing that I found missing in almost every one of these is how to actually hunt. Here's a gun, you got your clothes, you got all your gear. Now what do you do? How do you get yourself in the woods? How do you behave in the woods? How do you move through the woods where you're going to have any kind of success? Now, before we get into the specifics and details of that, I think we should start out with a bit of an overview so we have an understanding of where we're going to be going with this series and what kind of stuff we're going to be covering. So if you'll bear with me a minute before we get to the fun stuff, let's do a little bit of background stuff. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is what kind of hunting we're going to be talking about in this series. Well, there's a lot of different types of hunting. Almost as many different types of hunting as there is species to hunt, and actually there's multiple ways of hunting each species. So it's a huge category. In fact, I think I could do a video a day for 10 years and not cover all of it. So bear with me here. Let me go down through my list here and see if this kind of makes sense for you. So the types of hunting, well, no, before I get into that, first I want to say this. I'm doing these videos for the benefit of my sons, grandsons, and granddaughters. I have hunted my entire life. 58 years old. I was hunting when I was a child. I remember 6 or 7 years old, 8 years old maybe, taking a .22 and walking down the road and shooting rabbits. So I've been, sorry about that. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've hunted all over the United States. I rifle hunt, shotgun hunt. I hunt for all species. I bow hunt, handgun hunt, and I used to own a gun club. We shot trap, skeet, and sporting clays, had an archery course, had rifle and pistol ranges. I am a 4-H shooting sports instructor. I'm a certified instructor. I've taught numerous people how to hunt and how to shoot in my life, and so I think I'm somewhat qualified. A little bit qualified, have a little bit of experience that maybe I can share with my grandchildren, which is who this is for. I'm doing this so that my grandkids can benefit from Grandpa's experience. I may or may not be alive by the time they get old enough to go hunting, and so I want to make sure that I can pass on the knowledge that I have. So let's start with that, and let's start with the fact that in hunting there's a number of different types of hunting. There's big game hunting. So big game hunting, deer, bear, elk, moose, those species, okay? Big animals. There's small game, rabbits, foxes, squirrels, grouse. Those are all small game. There are predators, coyotes, foxes, bobcats, even birds of prey, you know, hawks and eagles and owls. Although we can't shoot those because they're federally protected. There's waterfowl hunting, something that's been a passion for me my entire life, duck hunting and goose hunting. I really enjoy duck hunting and goose hunting. Upland hunting, pheasant, grouse. So pheasant hunting and grouse hunting is upland hunting. That's, you know, taking a shotgun and walking a field. There's some other species too that we'll talk about as well. And then there's fur bearers, trapping and stuff. Not an area that I'm real strong in, but I have had done my share. But yeah, there's fur bearers. There's trapping for beaver and for mink and for ermines and weasels, raccoons. You know, you guys down in the South, lower 48, you guys are trapping raccoons. You're trapping foxes. You're trapping coyotes. So there's fur bearing. Okay, so there's a lot of different types of hunting to be done just by breaking it down into big, huge categories. You know, big game. Well, that's a huge category. So before we kind of get into breaking down the details, let's talk a little bit about the history and about the ethics and about where we're coming from, okay? As a human being, we are omnivores. Now, what does that mean? Okay. These teeth in the front are big flat teeth. They're made for cutting, for grazing, actually. They're actually made for grazing, for grabbing a hold of grasses and vegetables and being able to bite and eat vegetables. These flat teeth are for vegetables. These teeth here, the pointy ones, those are your canines. Those are for ripping meat. Our mouth is designed for both the consumption of meats and vegetables. Our biology, our bodies, require the nutrients for us to eat meat and vegetables. Some people may opt, for whatever reason, to only eat vegetables. I've known vegetarians. I've never known a meatarian, somebody who only eats meat. I know a lot of guys who try to be meatarians, but, you know, usually their moms or wives or whatever make them eat some vegetables. Certainly they eat French fries or what have you. But anyhow, since the dawn of time, as long as there's been men have hunted, women have hunted, humans have hunted. It was necessary for us to survive. We have to kill in order for us to live. It's just the way it is. It is the way it is for everything on this planet. There is a food chain in all species and in all genres. We're just part of the species or that food chain. We're high up in that food chain, thank God. But, you know, we're not the highest in that food chain either. There are some animals that do prey on us, especially up here in Alaska where I live. So realize that this is something that's been going on for a long time, and we are omnivores. We have canines, so we eat meat. So don't apologize for it. Don't feel bad that you're a hunter. Feel good that you're a hunter. The reason you should feel good that you're a hunter is because the reason we have, and I'm going to use deer as a good example here, although turkeys and elk and a number of other species come to mind. The reason we have deer in America is because of hunters. It was hunters that initiated the Pittman-Robertson Act, that started to donate money, that created the Fish and Wildlife Service, that created your state's game associations, your game affiliation, the game wardens and rangers and stuff. Those guys are funded, 100% funded, by the sale of hunting equipment. It was an 11% sales tax that was voluntarily incurred on the sale of all hunting equipment, not just guns, and that money is used to fund all of the fish and wildlife. So all of the game restoration, research that's been done, everything that's been done by Fish Wildlife Service, Fish Wildlife Parks, has all been funded by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses and equipment. Pretty amazing, actually. Pretty amazing. I'm not aware of any other industry that's done that. So as a hunter, I am completely unapologetic. I know when I was a child and hunted with my dad for the very few times that we hunted together on our property in Ohio, he told me that when he was a child, there wasn't any deer in that part of Ohio. Didn't see any deer there at all. They had been completely hunted and shot out. And so I did some research, and I found out that a group of hunters had actually bought deer from the Midwest, from further out west, white-tailed deer, and trucked them into Ohio and released them to reestablish the deer population there. And that happened back in the 30s. And so when my dad and I were hunting, which was in the late 70s, early 80s, there was lots of deer in Ohio, and anybody that lives in Ohio now knows there's a ton of deer. In fact, white-tailed deer are probably the best success story we have in the use of those funds from the Pittman-Robertson Act. A fund which, by the way, generates in excess of $700 million a year for wildlife conservation. You will also find that hunters support a number of various organizations that spend a huge amount of money on research and development. Ducks Unlimited, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, North American Hunting Club, National Rifle Association. Bighorn sheep have a group. Grouse have a group. Seems like almost every species has a group of people that have an interest in that have done numerous types of fundraising, habitat improvements, habitat stands. Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation right now has a huge program where they're taking elk from the West and reintroducing them back into their native ranges in like Ohio and Pennsylvania and the Midwest, New York. All these eastern states are getting elk reintroduced back into them, and it's a completely successful program. In fact, I just watched a hunting and fishing video the other day of guys elk hunting in Kentucky. And I'll tell you what, I'll bet you in the next year or two, the next world record elk is going to come from an eastern state. Why? Because they have the food resources to take care of those animals. The West is overgrazed at this point and never has been really productive for the habitat for game animals. They don't get a lot of weather. It's just not good soils. So I think really you're going to see Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, somewhere in there, you're going to see the next world record elk come pretty soon. We're going to talk a little bit about fair chase versus farming, because there's a big difference. And we're going to talk about food plots versus baiting. Going back to fair choice versus farming, I do want to say that there's a number of farming operations going on. Elk right now is being farmed pretty heavily in the United States. Reason being is because there's a market for elk antler. They can raise the elk up, cut the antlers off, and sell the antlers for a profit. The people in Asia like to buy them for whatever concoction they're making out of elk antler, but makes it sufficiently profitable that they're able to raise those. Most of the bison in America are in the hands of private ranches, mostly Ted Turner, actually. So animal farms has been an ongoing thing for many, many years. Most of the farm animals that we have today started as being some wild animal that some guy started to farm and domesticate. So when we look at game farms today, like bison being ranched or elk being raised up, you know, this is just the latest in a long series of farming operations where animals have been domesticated. Your pigs, your hogs, your poultry that you have on your farm today is a product of some guy in the past having decided to take the wild animals and start farming them. And then by selectively breeding, been able to develop the breeds that we have today. So maybe not be quite so critical about some of these people who are doing farming when it comes to wild animals, because there's a real long history in that. The next subject we're going to talk about is some of the weapons used in hunting, whether it be rifles, pistols, shotguns, archery equipment, trapping equipment. And you know, rifles, it's so varied. Everything from a small 22 caliber rimfire up to the big 50 cals. All of them can and have had some specific use at some point for hunting. Well, I don't think the 50 cal ever really had any particular use. It's too much gun for anything on the world. Maybe if we had dinosaurs, that would be okay. So we're going to talk about the various weapons that are available today and their uses. And choosing the right gun, the right tool, if you will, for the right job. And that's all that gun choice is a matter of. It's just a matter of picking out the right tool to do the job as efficiently as possible. Because tantamount in hunting is you want to make sure that if you're going to kill something, you get a good, quick, clean kill. You want the animal to be dead with the least amount of pain as possible. So having the right choice of weapon is kind of a critical step in that direction, if you will. Okay, next we're going to talk about species of animals. And you know, we are so blessed here in North America to have a plethora of different types of game animals that we can go after. Big game species, we have deer, deer. There's 5 or 6 varieties of deer in America. There's white-tailed deer, there's mule deer, there's coos deer, there's black-tailed deer, there's key deer. There's a number of different deer that are hunted in the United States, and some of them are huge, vastly different than others. Okay, we have elk, and again, we have Tule elk, we have Rocky Mountain elk. We have 3 varieties of elk in the United States. We have moose, and again, we have, you know, the American Canadian moose, and then we have the Alaskan Yukon moose that we have up here in Alaska. 2 distinctly different types of mooses. We have antelope, we have caribou, we have different types of cats, bobcats, cougars, panthers. We have sheep, bighorn sheep, Dall sheep, Rocky Mountain bighorns, desert sheep, stone sheep. We have goats, mountain goats specifically comes to mind. Bison and muskox. And then we have, alligators, wild boar. I mean, there's just a whole lot of different game animals in the big game category. Small game, rabbits, turkeys, fox, coyotes, grouse, pheasants, bobcats, snipe, woodcock. I mean, the list is really long, all the various types of small game animals that we have to hunt. Groundhogs, the list could be almost endless. So there's a bunch of different small game animals, and we're going to talk about those specifically. And I'm going to try to focus specifically on the animals that we're probably going to encounter as a hunter who is hunting for a homestead. Okay. And then, of course, we have waterfowl. We have our ducks and our geese. Ducks are varied, hundreds of varieties of ducks. 5 or 10 different varieties of geese that we hunt in the United States. So again, that's a whole different category. We're going to talk about various types of equipment that we use. And man, this is an insane category, okay? If you were to watch all these hunting videos that are on TV today, and you were to go out and buy all of the crap that they sell, because you need this while you're going out hunting, you literally would need to have a semi-truck follow you every place that you go to carry all this stuff. It is ridiculous the amount of stuff that people take with them. When I go hunting, I am a minimalist. I really am. I take the absolute minimum amount of stuff. Mostly because I'm fat and lazy. I don't want to pack all that stuff on my back. I don't need to carry a whole bunch of stuff. I just carry those things that I need to go out for the day. But we have optics, we have knives, we have backpacks, we have communications tools, radios, lights, game transport buggies, game processing equipment, game cameras, dogs and dog training equipment and dog housing, and that's a whole other huge category because dogs are used for hunting a variety of animals, both big and small game. All the safety equipment, decoys, whether it be decoys for hunting elk. I have this big pop-up decoy we use for elk hunting, to duck hunting. We have decoys for duck hunting, to callers that we put out for predators. Calls, mouth calls, turkey calls, elk calls, moose calls, duck calls. The calls are just endless. Different types of stands, ground blinds, tree stands. There's a whole huge category just in that. Ground blinds, boats that are used for hunting. Whether you're using it to hunt, coastal brown bears here in Alaska, or we're using a boat for duck hunting. Boats are used quite a bit in hunting. Scents. Different types of scents that are used to attract animals, and different types of scents that are used to push animals away. And different scent cover-ups that we use to cover our own scent. Four-wheelers and other types of sporting equipment, to use to get out into the woods, especially for fat old guys like me. My four-wheeler helps me get to the back of the property. Camping gear, technology, GPS, mapping. Again, this is an endless list of different things that we have in the way of equipment. But we will start breaking this down and going into this in some detail. Clothing, another huge category. Different types of boots, coats, waders, thermals, layers that you put on, whether it's weatherproof or rain gear, or snowproof, warm, cold, hot, headgear, hats, different types of stuff, face covering things to hide you from, to camouflage you, or to keep you warm. So we'll go into that. Then there's different types of techniques that we're going to discuss, and I think that's what my first video is going to be. We're going to talk a little bit about techniques. And this is where we really kind of get into the meat of the subject. We kind of get into the, okay, you got your gun and you got your ammo, and you know what animal you're going to hunt for. How do you actually go in the woods and do that, okay? And so we're going to talk about, for big game hunting, we're going to talk about stalking. We're going to talk about stand hunting. We're going to talk about putting on drives. And we're going to talk about road hunting, spot and stalk. Now, I know there's some people out there that are going to say, oh, you shouldn't spot and stalk. There are situations where that is completely legitimate and ethical means of hunting, and I'll explain that to you. You got to keep in mind, we're talking about the entire United States, not just where you live. In some areas, there will be a need for other tools and equipment that you may not be accustomed to. For small game, we're going to talk about spot and stalk. We're going to talk about putting on drives, using blinds, using dogs. In waterfowl, we're going to talk about decoys, being out on boats in open water, puddle jumping, which is, sneaking up on ducks in small bodies of water, your backyard pond and what have you. So that's kind of where we're going to go. So to start talking about hunting, to have a discussion about hunting and how to go about hunting as a newbie, as a homesteader trying to get into this, it's just a huge category. It really is. So with that said, I'd like to start out with doing a video about what I'm doing today, which is moose hunting. I am moose hunting up here in Alaska right now, and I'm moose hunting using two techniques. I'm utilizing a stalk and stand hunting. By stalk, I walk through the woods quietly, carefully, slowly, so that I can observe and see the moose before they see me and be able to shoot them. I use also a stand hunting, which means I get to a certain spot and I stay there all day waiting for mooses to go by. Both can be effective on moose hunting. So we're going to look at my stalking technique specifically this time. I mean, that's how close we're going to break this down. We're going to look at my stalking technique for big game. Now, the way I stalk for moose would be the same technique you would use if you were trying to hunt deer, if you were trying to hunt elk. It's a big game technique. I've also used it to hunt things like groundhogs, rabbits, a number of different animals. Okay. So here I'm going to start showing you in some of the video. Here you see a video of me on moose hunting, okay? Notice how I'm moving through the woods. 1 step, then 3 steps. 1 step, 5 steps, 1 step, 3 steps. I break up my cadence so I don't walk in a regular rhythmatic pattern. Human beings walk with rhythm. Break up the rhythm. You're going to confuse the animals in the woods. They're not going to think it's a human being coming if you're not walking in a rhythmatic pattern, if they do hear you. You need to stop, look, and listen more than walk. Now, I, for one, am a big guy. I'm huge. Okay, I'm 6'3", 425 pounds. I can walk through the woods quietly. If I can do it, you can certainly do it, because you're a lot smaller than me. If you're bigger than me, well, God help you, but most people are a lot smaller than me. So, I want you to pay attention to how I'm walking, and that I'm stopping, looking, and listening more than I'm walking. And I'm walking here too fast, actually. I would normally go really slow. You walk in the woods with the assumption that you're going to see the animal you want to hunt right that second. And when you're walking through those woods, you're not looking for, now I'm hunting moose, okay, I'm looking for a 1,500-pound animal the size of a large draft horse. But when I walk through the woods, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to see the entire moose. I'm looking to see a flick of an ear. I'm looking to see an eyeball. I'm looking to see some of that swaying movement. I'm looking for a paddle, moving through the woods. I'm looking for very specific, small details, because that's how you're going to see your animal. When you're hunting in your woods and you're looking for deer, as an example, you want to see that broken top line, their back. Sometimes that's all I notice is a back. Or a leg. I'll notice a leg walking through the woods. Or again, you'll see the ear, or an eye, or the black nose, or the white tail. You see the white tail? It's usually all over. That's the deer going away, saying goodbye. Okay? Notice how I'm carrying my gun. I have my gun quickly at hand. It's tucked up under my arm. The breech action, the mechanical action part of my gun is protected. So no dirt or weather can get into it. My barrel is pointed down, so nothing's going to plug my barrel. It's close at hand, so I can bring it up to my shoulder and aim very quickly. I'm carrying it in a safe position. My barrel is always pointed in a safe direction. When I'm also walking in the woods, I'm looking for any and all available cover. Don't just sashay down the middle of the lane like you're walking down Broadway, okay? With your gun up over your shoulder, totally unprepared. make use of whatever cover is available. If there's a tree, get over next to the tree to break up your outline. Don't walk down the middle of an opening, skirt around the outside edge of an opening. Utilize cover to break up your outline as much as possible when you're walking through the woods. I can't emphasize enough how important that is, okay? All right, so here's a little idea of how I walk through the woods. You can see I'm walking with this cadence. 1 step, look around. 2 steps, 3 steps, look around. 1 step, look around. I'm obviously not making a lot of distance. I'm walking very slowly through the woods. I'm spending more time looking around. I try to just turn my head, and you can see in this video I'm actually turning my head too quickly. I'm making too much movement, because movement is a thing that most animals and hunters are going to pick up on. So I should actually be moving a little slower here. But this is the technique that I would use if I'm hunting moose, and it's what I used when I was in Ohio hunting deer. It's what I used when I was in Montana hunting elk. Whether I was gun hunting or bow hunting, this is the way I would walk through the woods. And if there's anything you glean from this entire series of hunting, this is the most important thing for you. If you have your gun, it's loaded, you're ready to shoot, the gun's on safety, you got all your camouflage hunting clothes on because you want to take advantage of camouflage when you can. Again, you want to break up your pattern so you're not easy to spot. This is the best technique that you can use for moving through the woods. You move slowly, look, listen, more than you move, and you'll be successful too. Anyhow, if you like this kind of thing, please like and subscribe, and we'll have part 2 coming up pretty soon. Thanks, guys. How about them toad suckers? Ain't they sappy? Sucking them toads all sure make them happy. Hug 'em mugger toad suckers way down south. Sticking them sucky toads in zay mouth. I be a toad sucker knowing to duck it. You just find an old toad and you rear back and suck it. Folks, you have a good day. Bye.